Hey, and welcome to this Alchemy Account Kit workshop. My goal is to make this the most fun workshop that you've ever watched, and that's pretty easy because we just released a new version of Account Kit, version 4.00. You can see it in the top right corner here, and this is going to make Web3 development super fun and easy. And you're going to see that in just a moment. So if you want to follow along with what I'm going to be doing up here, go to accountkit.alchemy.com, jump into the quick start because this is really where I'm going to be kicking things off. So hopefully, even if you're watching this when there's a future version out there, the steps should be the same. Go into the quick start, clone it, and do everything that I'm doing here. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to the quick start. You could use yarn or npm to go ahead and kick this off. Might as well use npm since I'm on it. So let me go ahead and bring this into my terminal. And if you want to name it something else, you can change the name right here. Let's call this Account Kit Fun because I probably already have an Account Kit app in there. So let's give it a minute to install. All right, hopefully my video editor sped that up for you. Just kidding, I don't have a video editor, it's me. So thank you, future Dan, for speeding that up. All right, so now we are in here. Let's go ahead and jump into that Account Kit Fun repository. And I'm gonna open this up into my editor. I'm using Cursor AI. It's basically a VS Code fork that has a bunch of AI baked into it. So you're gonna see some AI tools inside of here. Really kind of useful for me, and I think a lot of people are finding it really useful today, so you're going to see some of that baked in here, but mostly it's VS Code. So let's just jump on in here and check this out. Cool. So what we have here is a starter repository. It's a Next.js application. That looks ugly, but I think it's okay. All right, so this is a Next.js application, and it's going to have everything we need to get started with the account kit right off the bat. It's just got a few components in here. It's got the page, it's got the layout, it's got the providers, which is going to be some setup that you don't need to worry yourself about too much. The main thing that if you're going to do any configuration, you're going to need to know about is this top level config.ts. In here, this is where you actually set up what your login experience is going to be like. You could see we have email and passkey and social through Google and Facebook. These are the login methods that you can use with Account Kit as of 4.0. So you can have your users log in with a familiar experience like a Google OAuth or a Facebook OAuth, which is super nice because they don't have to worry about onboarding with a wallet right away. They can just jump right into your application, say, hey, is this something fun? And then, figure out whether they want to bake in more security as they start to accumulate value in your application, whatever it is. And they say, oh, I use this application all the time. I want to now secure it a little bit more, right? And you can go through those steps in that user education journey later on. But at first, just tell them, log in with Google, we got you, and we'll hook you up with a smart account. All right, sweet. So that is that. If you want to configure this, I don't necessarily recommend just like doing this, although you can, where you can just sort of get rid of Facebook there if you don't want to use Facebook or whatever. We're going to be using Google in this case, so that's fine. If you actually want to edit this stuff, there's an even better way of doing this, which is if you come back out here to the account kit, you can actually see there's a demo. And if you click this, it's going to bring you to demo.alchemy.com. And you get this like nice little wizard for like configuring your UI here. Do people still say wizard? Am I dating myself by saying wizard? You have a UI for configuring your UI. So you can see here, you could toggle off social if you don't want social. What this is going to do is when we've toggled this code preview over here, we can like click these buttons and you can see it's getting rid of these things. But you can also theme it. So if you have a theme, you have a logo, you have a color that you want to sort of put on here, you could do all of that in here, see what it looks like, put it into your application by just copying it over the config there, and then you're good to go. So that's how I'd recommend doing this. For now, I'm just going to go back over to the account kit quick start in case we need any more of these instructions to kind of jump in here. I think I should be okay though. This should be relatively straightforward. What we really need is the Alchemy API key, and this little note here is going to tell you where to go. So I'm going to click on that. So I guess I don't need this tab anymore, and I'll keep my tabs to a minimum. This is going to bring me out to my dashboard. It's actually bringing me down to Account Kit over here, but first I'm actually going to go and create a new app. So you can see I have one app. What we're going to use for this particular application here today is Berachain, because we're going to have a lot of fun with this application. So we're going to be building it on Berachain. So let's create a new app so you can see what that experience is like. I'm going to go in here to create new app. I'm going to call it Bera Fun, and we're going to have some Bera Fun. And if Bera is the asset on Berachain, does that make it a Bera asset? I feel like it's all good for puns. All right, gaming. There we go. Now let's go in here, and we're going to click on Berachain. There it is. Sweet. So by default, you can enable all EVM if you'd like. I'm just going to do Berachain because that's what we're going to be doing here. So that's going to hook that up. You could see what services we have available at Alchemy for Berachain here. So I'm going to click on all three. So we get these enabled. We're going to want Account Kit. We're also going to want our Gas Manager API because we don't want our users paying gas. We're going to abstract that all away from them, make that super easy. So let's go ahead and create this application. We have Bera Fun. All right, this is where we're going to be doing all of our fun Bera stuff. So my API key is up here in the top right corner. I'm going to copy that over, bring it in here, just paste it. Now what I want to do next is configure my Account Kit setup, where I can set up that I want to use my different social applications and also set up my Gas Manager policy. So you're going to see what that looks like. Let's go over here down to Account Kit. In Account Kit, you can see I have a bunch of configurations. I'm going to create a new one. We're going to call it Bera Fun, and we are going to attach it to Bera Fun. And I'm not going to do email. I'm going to take away email here because then you can configure like your email, put in a logo, put in all that stuff. I'm not going to be doing email in this case. I'm just going to be logging in with Google because that's what I really wanted to show off here. And I'm not going to set up any other credentials for now, but you could definitely do that for better security. We do have to set a whitelisted origin. In this case, I'm going to be using my local host 3000. So that's what I'm going to set here. But if you were going to deploy this to production, you'd want to set whatever domain you were going to be deploying this to. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and create that config. We created the config. Awesome. The other thing that I want to do, so you could also grab your API key that would right there. That would have been helpful. The other thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go configure my Gas Manager. So that's the next step. That's what I'm going to do now. So let's go over here to Gas Manager, create a new policy, and let's call this Bera Fun policy. All right. And we will do it for Bera Fun, Berachain Bardio. That's the testnet there. Cool. So we'll click next. We are going to not set any limits, no limits, no limits. Everyone use all the gas. Use the gas. If you want to put this in production, you might want to set some spending rules and access controls. I am just going to click all that, and we have our policy. There it is. You know what I'm realizing just now? I should have named it. I should have named it Barracuda. There's another pun for you. You know that song that you're gonna burn to the wick. Ooh, Barracuda. All right, here we go. I won't put Barracuda. We're going to take the gas policy and we're going to put it over here. We're going to do policy ID. So that's also going to be here on the config. You can toss that in. And what this is going to do by default, no other configuration necessary in your application. It's going to make it so that all of our transactions, really they're user operations, but you can think of them as transactions, are going to be sponsored, gas sponsored. That means our user won't have to pay for the gas. So by default, that's going to be hooked up, which is just super cool, to the policy that we just created with all of those rules in there. So this is going to be super nice and easy and frictionless for our user. All right, awesome. So now that we have this in here, let's just check that we can log in. Right? If we can log in, then we have everything hooked up properly and we could see ourselves with an account. Once we log in, it's going to take us into this page.tsx and it's going to tell us our email address. Really, I would love to see not just the email address, but maybe the account. And for the account, what we need to do is we need to decide what kind of smart account we want. So this is actually going to use another hook. So these use hooks, by the way, you can find them documented in the account kit. Use user, use signer status, all this stuff. You can find them in the account kit. So you come back over here and you just sort of search them in the search bar. And then you can search for things like use user. And then you could click in here and you could see what it is going to return, what you're going to get out of this, how you could use it. all that stuff. So the one hook that I want to use here that's going to give us the ability to get our account is going to be, and there's a couple different ones that I think you could use to get an account, but the one that I'm going to use is use Smart Account Client. So this is going to give us a client. If you're familiar with the concept of a client from VM, it's basically the thing that we use to interface with a chain or whatever services, RPC, and in this case, the bundler. So it's a concept that comes from VM. If you're not familiar with VM, I do have a 60-minute video on VM. Check that one out. To get you up to date and knowledgeable about this library. So Smart Account Client is going to be a client that's configured to talk to the Alchemy bundler as well as the RPC, all using the configuration that we set up there. So we're going to go ahead and use this Smart Account Client. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to specify what kind of account we could use. You could use here either a light account or a modular account, and then you have further parameters to configure it beyond that. I'm just going to use a light account here. That's going to be the cheapest thing to deploy. Modular account is going to give you a whole bunch of other stuff because you have a whole ecosystem of plugins that you can install in the account in case you need other things like session keys, stuff like that. But here I'm just going to use the light account. So let's go ahead and pull that in. So let's get our light account. I don't need these parameters. I am just going to import use Smart Account Client. That's going to grab that from AccountKit React. We're going to use a light account. And what I'm going to get back from here is I'm going to want that client in a sec, so I'm going to keep that there. But what I really want right now is the address. So logged in as the address. Let's do that. And then that's going to tell us what our address is that we control with our Google account, right? We're going to log in with Google, and then we're going to get a smart account that we can control on chain, right? It's going to be a really nice user experience. For a lot of use cases, you might not even have to show the user the account that they control, right? Like most users don't want to see hexadecimal in their application. It's like, what is that, thing there? So in this case, we'll show the address just so we know it's working. We know we have a smart account that we control out there. Oh, one other thing that I did not do is I am going to want to change is I do want to change this chain over to Berachain. We're going to use Berachain Bardia, which is the test net there, and that is going to go ahead and set us up so that we can do all this stuff on Berachain. All right, sweet. So I'll save that, and we'll pop on back over here into the application. Oh, I didn't start it, so let's start it. We're going to, you could use either Yarn or you could use NPM in this case because we have a package JSON lock and we also have a Yarn lock. So I'm just going to go ahead and do Yarn. First, I'm going to need to install it. So Magic Dan, speed it up. Oh, here we go. All right, cool. So now we can do Yarn dev and we can go ahead and pop that open localhost 3000. Okay, great. So let's do the one thing that we can do on this page, which is login. All right, sweet. And we have our auth components for us. Again, you could style these in demo at demo.alchemy.com. You could change whatever you want to do here. I am just going to click Google to go ahead and sign in with that. And there is my Gmail account. And we will log in, and there is my account, D9. That's pretty cool, actually, because I'm Dan, and my favorite number is 9. So D9, I like that account. So this account is going to be an account that I control on Berachain. This is commonly referred to as a counterfactual address. That's a big word. It basically just means it's an address that I control with code that has not been deployed yet. Once I deploy code, I know that I can do it to this address. This is a deterministic address that I can then control to do stuff, just like a regular externally owned account, right? So for all intents and purposes, I control this account with smart contract code. That's the TLDR. And to point this out, if I wanted to get this account back again, it's tied to my Gmail account, right, as a user. So I just log out, log back in, go to Google, click my name, and I'm logged in. Sweet. There we go. All right, cool. So let's do the fun stuff where we deploy a smart contract on Berachain Bardia and we interact with it. So let's deploy like an NFT, and then we'll drop one of those NFTs. We'll mint one to this address, D9. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up Remix over here, and then we're going to do some NFT magic in this corner here. So I don't need this dashboard anymore, I don't think. I am going to use this tab to just go out to Open Zeppelin. Let's grab ERC 721. And if you've done this many times before, you know, like me, that it's going to bring you from Google to the 2.x version. Watch out for that. It brings you to 2.x. That's just how it's been indexed. But you want to go to 5.x, which is the latest version of their docs. And then you can go out here to ERC 721 and grab yourself a smart contract from a pretty recent version of Solidity. I'm just going to pull this over here. And by the magic of Remix, oh, hey, it's going to tell me, hey, you just pasted something in. Be careful. We're good. It's Open Zeppelin audited. Here we go. Okay, press OK. And then by the magic of Remix, it's going to go ahead and pull in the dependencies already from me. So you can see it already pulled that in, which is super, super cool. We do got a red squiggly here, which I think that's just due to the import. We should also be importing ERC 721. Cool. So if that documentation is open source over there on Open Zeppelin, somebody go put in that pull request. Yeah, we got to put the import ERC 721 right there. That's a good piece of open source contribution that you could do. All right, cool. So now we have ourselves a game item. Maybe this will be our Barracuda, right? There's our Barracuda. It's a game item, and that's definitely not how you spell Barracuda, but I think on Berachain, that's how you spell it, Barracuda. Cool. All right, and we're going to award this item. That's pretty cool. I guess we could just call it mint, right? And we're going to pass in a token URI. You know what? I'm not going to do a token URI, so I'm just going to make that an empty string, whatever. I don't want to change too much code here. We don't even really need to set the token URI. I'm going to take that out. Even though this is an ERC 721 URI storage, not the point. We just want to drop an NFT into this, and then we want to interact with it for this demo. Keep it pretty simple. So what we want to do is we want to mint, and then let's do another function where we're changing state. I want to read state in this application, then I want to change state to show you how to do both with the account kit, and then we'll cover all of our bases, and you'll be off to the races. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and say function battle, because I like to think about all of this in terms of games. We're going to make this external, and when you battle with one of your NFTs, you always win. That's pretty lame, but in this case, let's just make it so that you always win. We're going to say take in the token ID, because when we mint it, we're going to mint a specific token ID to the player, to my D9 account. So I'm going to take that token ID and I am going to manage some state for it. So we're going to create a mapping that is going to be a mapping of a uint token ID to a uint number of wins for the wins. So every time that you battle, you win. Now you can imagine that maybe you could battle a different token ID. You could say, take my token ID and battle somebody else's, and maybe there's attributes on chain, and maybe there's some on-chain randomness where you could actually have a battle here. That would be kind of cool. But for now, you battle, you win. It's like a proof of work. Just keep battling, keep winning. That's going to be fun enough for our demo. So we're going to do token ID plus equals 1. I think we have plus plus, right? Does that compile? We used to not have plus plus, and I just always forget where we're at in Solidity. All right, cool. So we got plus plus, and oh yeah, it's right here, right in front of me. Okay, so let's go ahead and also do one more thing, which may trip me up, but it's going to keep me honest. Let's make sure whoever is the person who has this token ID is the one who can actually call battle, right? So it should be require, and I believe there's like an owner of method that comes in from ERC 721. And if we pass in the token ID, it's going to respond with an address. That's not telling me, but I believe it's going to give me an address as a return. And we'll make sure that's going to be the message sender. And it looks like it compiles, so it looks like it's happy. So require that the person who this was minted to is the one who's battling. You can't battle with my NFT and start winning with my NFT. Although, you know, if it was just about winning, and, you know, then maybe you should just let everyone win and battle with your NFT. But here we go. Anyway, so let's go ahead and compile. And great. So let's deploy this contract. I think we are good to go with it. So we're going to go ahead and deploy this to Berachain over here. It's going to be in my injected provider. Hopefully MetaMask is already set up to, look at that, Bera. I believe we are on Berachain Bardio. Awesome. All right, cool. So we are going to go ahead and if you ever need the the chain information, you can go out to chain list, just search that in Google, and then you'll get the EVM chain list. You could add it to your MetaMask, whatever, and then you'll have that good to go. I have some testnet in there, testnet Bera, so I can go ahead and deploy this contract. So let's do that. We will deploy it, and it's going to cost me a little bit of Bera. And okay, it took a second, so I probably sped that up. And here we go. We have ourselves a contract. And let's go ahead and use this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to mint ourselves some Barracuda. Here we go. So let's go back over here to get my D9 account. This is my lucky account. I got to always stay on localhost 3000 with my Gmail account, and I will always have access to the smart account here. So let's go ahead and transact with that. We're going to award it to my account, and that should go through. Boom. All right, cool. So we got ourselves our account. So what that should mean is whatever that first token ID is, which could be 1 or 0. Let's go ahead and check that out. So if I go over here to owner of the token ID and I pass in 0, let's see if I'm the owner. D9. All right, so that's me. There we go. Cool. So I am the owner of that, which means technically over here from my Gmail account attached to this application, I can control that NFT, right? But we need to add some buttons in here in order to give me access to that NFT. Maybe we just want to first log out instead of success, how many wins we have so we can see when that win increments, right? Every time that we call it, we can battle and then we can increment it. That sort of thing, right? So let's go ahead and do that in our application. We'll do two things. We'll try to log out the wins. Maybe we'll do that first, and then we'll add a battle action where we can then go and move the NFT forward, and then you'll see how to do both, read and write to the blockchain. All right, great. So let's go back over here and close out of this for now. Reading and writing to the blockchain. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to need that contract address. So the contract address is not going to be the 0 address, but nice guess. And we're going to go over here to this one. That's my game item, my Barracuda. And in order to interact with my contract, I'm going to want to do both reading and writing. My reading is going to be wins, right? We're going to look up wins. And then write is going to be mint, right? So we're going to do the mint function. So my ABI is going to look, yeah, kind of like that. I want, this is kind of helpful that it leaves it like this, but I don't really know how to do the JSON quite right, because then I got to do like the arguments in here. And I don't want to guess this. There's a handy thing where you can do like human readable functions and then parse that to ABI. And VM has one of these functions. It's called parse ABI. And Ethers has it too. A bunch of libraries will have this sort of thing. So what you could do is you could do something like this, and then, oh, hey, AI kind of helped me a little bit. That's not quite right. Mint is going to take a address, right? It's going to take an address player, which, sure, we can call it 2. It doesn't matter what you name it. It really just matters the name of the function and then the parameter types. That's how you get the function hash that you're going to target. And then wins is going to take, yeah, it is going to return a uint256. This doesn't actually return a bool. Wins is going to take in a token ID, right? And it's going to return how many wins I have, a uint256. Yeah, that's pretty good. That looks like my contract ABI. So that's going to work for me. And what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to, that's interesting. That would be if we have this use contract read method, but we don't have that. That's a WAGMI hook, but we want to use the smart contract client that we have right here. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to create our own hook where we're going to read this. That's going to be triggered once this client is defined. So let's go ahead and do a use effect where I'm going to pass in the client here. And I know one thing that's going to come up here, which is I'm going to want to use await in here because I'm going to want to read the contract. So I'm just going to do an async iffy right off the bat so I can use await. And inside of here, what I'm going to do, yeah, that's probably smart. We'll guard to make sure that the client is defined. if it is defined, then what we're going to want to do is, no. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to say const wins is going to be await client.read contract. Yep. Read contract is going to be the method that we can call on our client, and then we can pass in some stuff. That looks about right. The only thing that's wrong here is that this number should be a big int. So we're going to pass in big int there. So we're targeting the function wins using our contract ABI from up here, which is like there. And then we have our contract address. Cool. So AI is really helping me out there. Hopefully it's not distracting watching it in a video and just having the AI guess. Still debating whether that's helpful in videos or not. It does speed it up my thought process a little bit. But sometimes I think maybe it's easier just to see me think through all these things. Although sometimes I have to refer back to documentation. So there's a trade-off. All right, so the AI helped me write that. Read contract wins. We're going to get this wins back. We're going to log it out. Let's just do that. See if we can log it out. We should get 0 back here. So we should see like 0n for like the big int if that's working properly. And I see an error from Next.js, so that's not great. It's saying the contract function wins reverted. Okay, let's see if that happens if I refresh in case there was something that I didn't do. Nope. Wins reverted on my contract address. Oh, you know what? Shoot, that's what it was. Maybe you caught this. I did not make the mapping public. Dang. Okay, so the wins is the method that I'm going to use to read, and I forgot to make that public, so classic mistake there. We will go ahead and redeploy this, and then I'll go ahead and remint as well, and we'll do that super quick. So, okay, speed up magic, minted to my player D9, and so we have that over there. Now we should be able to get our wins because it is a public method, which explains why it was reverting there. Boy. All right, so let's go ahead, and we don't have to change anything over here. Oh, we do. We have to actually change the contract address, but that looks like the same one, B770. Oh my goodness. So we got the first 2 hexadecimal the same. I thought it was the same address. Oh man. Okay, the chances of that are very rare. Do you want to calculate that for yourself? 1 in 16 times 1 in 16. The chances of that happening, that the first 2 hexadecimal characters are the same, is 1 in 256. So dang, okay. And that happened to me up here, and that was confusing. Okay, so it is a different contract address. I thought for some reason I was looking at the same one over here, but we're good. All right, cool. So then what we can do is we can go ahead and save that contract address. We can mint ourselves the token. It's already minted, and we should see that. I think I already saw it in the log. There it is, our 0n. Okay, cool. So that 0n right here is the number of wins that we have. Let's go ahead and show that, and so that we can get some wins here, right? I'm looking for a win. I need a win. All right, so let's do wins is going to be wins, and we'll go ahead and log that out. I don't actually have that available right here because I need to do a use state. So yeah, AI is seeing exactly what I need. We'll go ahead and set that, and set wins is going to come down here instead of logging it out. And then this is going to complain because it's a big int. All right, that's fine. So we could use a big int. Let's just parse it. Or number. Is that how I have to parse it? From a big int to a regular int? All right, cool. So that'll do that trick. One other thing that we might want to do is we might want to set this to null initially, and then we'll do number or null. That way we know when the value is actually loaded, and you might want to do a better loading than that, right? So there we go. So wins says 0, which means that it loaded, right? Because when we actually go to refresh, give it a second to log in. Wins is undefined, and then wins is 0. Sweet, so it's actually loading it. So now what we want to do is we want to actually battle, and when we battle, our wins should go up and up and up and up. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and create another button that's going to be called, maybe we'll do it above logout. That's going to be called battle, and we're going to say battle. We'll make it the same color, that's fine. and we're going to go ahead and just create a function called battle. And what battle is going to do is we're going to send a user operation that is going to be gas sponsored by default. So to send user operations, there's a hook called use user operation. So if you want to find the documentation on that, you can go to account kit and you could say use user operation or use send user operation. There it is. And this will show us how to do it. You get these functions that come back, send user operation. I'm going to use the send user operation async, which returns a promise. And then we're going to use that and send over user operation, where we could send it just like a transaction, but it's going to be a gas sponsored operation. And if you are unfamiliar with user operations, that term's unfamiliar, check out our account abstraction videos. You can find them on the Alchemy YouTube. We talk all about account abstraction, what user operations are, but you can really just think of them as transactions, but for account abstraction. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and pull this on over. And our battle is going to, I'm not going to do all this on success, on error stuff. I don't need that here. I'm just going to use user operation, and I'm going to say send user operation async is one of these things that returns. And inside of here, I'm going to call send user operation async, and this is going to take a UO, and it has all this stuff in here, right? The target, the data. We're not going to send any value. That would be the native value, the Bera. I'm not going to be sending any value in this. I'm just going to be targeting our contract address here and trying to call battle, not mint. Mint is not what I wanted to write. Battle is what I wanted to write, right? Because mint is what we have already done. We want to actually battle with it. So uint 256, and then we will go ahead and battle. So we'll pass in this address down here. That's our contract address. Now for this part, for the data, for call data, check out Alchemy University if you want to learn any of this stuff for how to encode call data via an API. But there's a function from VM called encode function data that you could basically take what function you want to target, and then you could pass in everything that you need in order to target that with the proper data here. So this is going to take in, first off, the contract ABI, and then the battle, and the args, the big int. Yeah, so that's what we want to do is we want to call battle with our token ID, which in this case, we're just hard coding to 0. And we're going to call battle, and we're going to actually try to get a win on that particular token ID. This is what we're going to do every time we call battle. And maybe just to keep things simple, we'll do like an async await here. And when we get our response, let's just go ahead and like console log the response, and we'll just do that. And we'll know what we got back there and whether or not the win should have incremented, and then we can refresh to see the wins incrementing. So let's make sure that that's working. We'll call battle, and then we'll see how that works. And I'll leave it up to you as the viewer to make a better UI. Cool. So here's a battle. We'll click it. There's our transaction hash. It came back. So let's do maybe one more. Whoops. That looks like maybe it tried to send the same one again. Let's battle again. Okay, cool. So we've sent 2 transaction hashes there. Let's go ahead and refresh, and let's just see how many wins we got. 2. Awesome. So let's send another one, and let's just make sure it's working for 3. I just like getting more wins. There's our transaction hash. Refresh. And we got ourselves some wins. Awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this demo of the AccountKit 4.0. I'm going to be taking this repository as is and making it available for you. I'll put it in the description down below so you can go ahead and clone this, use it for your hackathon. If you're at the ETHGlobal ETHSF hackathon, look forward to seeing what you guys build. This workshop was built specifically for you. If you're a viewer from the future, way beyond the ETHSF hackathon, also look forward to seeing what you build. Hopefully it is something fun, and hope you enjoyed this workshop. Take care.